Shuttles can now do collision damage, so I'm going to ram the cargo shuttle directly into the ATS because this is probably the most likely scenario. Also, shuttles are faster now, or uncapped. This damage is not the most severe thing ever. You could definitely do more than this, but you could totally destroy the entire front end of the cargo shuttle, meaning you'd have to do a full-on repair. And yeah, the damage on the ATS is pretty bad. But what's cool is that parts of the ship can fly off, so the shuttle console literally broke and flew into the ATS, and that looks very cool. The Salvage Job Board has been added to the game. This is a linear ranked up system for salvagers. As you rank up, you'll get money for doing your reward or your tasks, and you'll get new things to purchase, such as better crushers, seismic charges, fultons. These are always the same challenges, and to max out your rank, you will eventually have to do all of them, but to rank up in the beginning, you only have to do 3 out of 4. To complete these bounties, it's identical to the cargo bounties. You get the shipping label, put it on a crate, double check that you've completed the bounty, and then sell it, and you'll get your money, and subsequently get your EXP or progression, whatever you want to call it. Mail can now come in the form of a bomb. If you try to open this or unlock it, it will literally trigger it. You do get the money though, so I guess at this point you could just willingly toss it into space or something, get the money. But the timer, from what I could tell, is random, and I think there's ways to like increase how fast it explodes, so you could use it as a tool. But either way, if you do open it and it's fragile and urgent, you could make a lot of money. Just don't blow yourself up. Salvage can now find large barrels of different reagents. For example, this one is 500 units of space lube. They are rather large bits of reagents, so I guess if salvage wants to find enough reagents, they could just make their own chemicals, but they already could order the chemicals and open it, so if anything, just saves money in the end. You're probably supposed to bring this to medical, but in reality, salvagers are just going to keep it for themselves. A new dangerous salvage mob can be found called the Basilisk, and this will petrify you. It really just slows you to a crawl, and this is rather brutal because this is a melee mob, and once it slows you enough, it tries to melee you. It seemingly always will try to make sure you're as slow as you could possibly go, which will alternate between slowing you and then eating you. However, if you kill it, it is worth a lot of money. Goliaths have been fixed, so you can no longer stand still to ignore their tentacles. Of course, you can still just float off in space and use railings, but one of the 3 cheese methods at least has been fixed. Supply bots can now pull things, meaning we are one step closer to forklifts. We now have what's kind of a living forklift. The supply bot is slowed fairly heavily pulling the crate, but not so much. This is still probably faster than just a normal person, maybe not like a lizard. But now they have an internal storage and can drag a crate, so pretty useful. Cyborgs and things like supply bots can now scream, and it's rather horrifying, honestly, but people really like the ability to scream in this game, so now our silicon friends can do so in despair. AIs can now customize what they'll look like by right-clicking their core, clicking AI customization. You can change your holographic avatars, so what you'll appear on the holopad, and change what your core will display. Very good for your own customization. The Syringe Gun is a new Tier 3 technology. The Syringe Gun itself is a 2x2 gun, and you can fit these little 1x1 mini syringes in it. These hold 5 units, so you could technically shoot 15 units of something into somebody, but again, it's a Tier 3 tech, so you have to decide what of the Tier 3 techs you want. You then have to, of course, have the ability to use specific reagents that you'd want in it, so like an intag, you're going to have to do a lot of prep in order to actually use this. So it's not like you could just get this second one in the game, and we'll have to see how people utilize this tool. Tier 3 Industrial now lets you make hypercapacity power cells, and the name of the tech was changed because it's not just about microreactor power cells now, so a little bit more incentive to go Tier 3 other than just the bags of holding. To compensate for the fact that Salvage now has to sell gold and silver ore, you can buy 30 gold bars for 3 grand, and you can buy 30 silver bars for 2,500. There are a new type of meteors, which means new types of meteor events. One of them is a cosmic cow, and this cow, yes, can actually go through quite a few walls. But once the cow explodes, it actually leaves things like cheese behind, so probably get the picture just from that, but these are pretty all meme-worthy meteors. So we have the cow one, and just to show one more, we have the Honksteroid, which is now a clown. I don't know exactly how common these are going to be, but now there's a lot of meme ones. That one at least funny, and watching a clown explode gives great joy. Tesla coils have been changed to have a smoother ramping of power, meaning that the Tesla is less likely to flicker, and I think this overall goal is to make the Tesla more stable for power production. I just have the battery debug on, you can see that the charge never even remotely gets low with at least only 2 Tesla coils, but even with more, it doesn't drop fast enough that you couldn't charge it with just a normal Tesla setup. Atmos techs have been given air grenades, and these grenades will fill up a room with livable gas. They have a pretty interesting looking sprite, reminds me of like a perfume bottle, but it can even overpressurize a room if it's not large enough for the tiles, but this isn't like a dangerous amount of overpressure, but can be really nice and good for Atmos techs to tactically refill a room in like an emergency. I can see this being really useful for emergency repairs during something like nukies. And speaking of emergency repairs with grenades, foam grenades have once again been changed. They now will only break in one hit. They're not nearly as durable, but they plume out even more metal foam, so it's not quite as permanent, but it can seal an entire room. And just for an emergency situation, you can even see that it can create tiles off of one, like a floating grid. It can fix holes in the floor, which I mean, it already could. But either way, you can basically seal an entire room and then chip away at what's left before you do a more permanent repair. You can now make a disposal signaler with 2 steel and 1 cable, so if you link it up to something like opening a door, so once something's detected, you can open it, bolt it, set it up wherever you want. Of course, you'd still need the proper access, so if I flush this garbage through it, it will detect that something has gone through it and open the door. So you could theoretically make a disposal network that when you flush a body in it, will throw a body out into space, open up all the airlocks. Nuclear operatives can now buy a 40 telecrystal bundle, so all their TC, but this is designed to give new players a very general kit that is something that will excel in all situations. You get a C20, can't really go wrong with a C20, blood red mag boots so you don't slip, have a jetpack, some medical supplies, jaws of life to open anything, agent ID card, EMP implant to deal stuns. You can now microwave the nuke disc to change how long it could take to detonate the nuke. It's definitely going to be interesting to see a nuke team try to get a lower timer before they actually arm. Maybe they'll bring their microwave from home, who knows. But once you arm it, we can see that I have actually lost almost 30 seconds of time, and 30 seconds can certainly matter. Syndicate objectives have been changed with the form of Yellowtexting. These are partial complete objectives. So for example, if you have to kill and maroon somebody, but you maroon them and they're alive, it'll be a yellow text. There's also orange, where if you like partially fail something, so like as a thief, I guess, if you had to steal 9 things, you only steal 3, it'll be an orange instead of a red because you partially failed it, but you didn't succeed either. Some other objective tweaks are if you have to help a syndicate ally, you now have to help them with all of their objectives. So I guess if you only help them with some of them, you'll probably end up getting the yellow text. So those are some of the tweaks there. And speaking of the nuke, lone operatives, when they detonate the nuke successfully, will actually end the round now, so you're no longer stuck in limbo looking at partially exploded objects and the emptiness of space. You can now craft fungal soil with 10 wooden planks and any mushroom. This is essentially just, oh my god, my mushroom. This takes a fairly long time to set up, and of course the soil will come with no water or nutrients, so you would have to have already like got some extra compost, have some water, which I guess you just have a water tank on you, but I can see this being really neat and allowing for some ghetto botany. You can now link to other things in the guidebook. So for example, if I'm looking at chlorine and I click on table salt, it'll actually move the table down to table salt, and I can keep going from there. I can look at chlorine and go back and forth. So it allows for slightly easier navigation of guidebook. And while we are here, Omnizine has been changed to evenly heal burn, toxin, hair loss, and brute. Before, it's like if you had 2 blunt, it would still only heal like 0.6 per tick if you only had blunt, but now if you have even damage, you'll have better healing overall. So just overall, it's an Omnizine buff technically. You can now press Shift X to cycle your hands the other way. Obviously you can't tell if I only have one hand because it's just going the other way anyway, but this is good for cyborgs at the moment, or possibly if we ever get the ability to have more than 2 hands again. The Kammerer now only shoots 1 shot a second, but now it features a tighter spread, where you can now actually keep your pellets in a pretty tight tile radius at a much farther distance, so it's a more accurate shotgun than like a Enforcer. Slimes are now actually hurt by water vapor. This long old rumor that they were hurt by water vapor is now actually true. It doesn't like instantly kill you or delete you or anything, but it will slowly start to give you heat and can definitely add up quickly. You snip the panic wire of an air alarm, it will now put the air scrubber on siphon until that wire is mended. And the last thing to cover this week is the Draco. It is a dragon taco, and yes, it has Ichor in it So you can now have even more ways of cooking the dragon up and getting that delicious healing from them. I want to thank our maintainers and contributors for all their hard work, and thank you for watching.